Good evening, everyone, and welcome to all of you to the City of Palm Coast City Council special budget meeting. Today is Thursday, September the 8th, 2022. It is now 5:15 p.m., and we are in the community wing of City Hall. If you would all please rise and join me for our Pledge of Allegiance. If the clerk would call the roll, please.
Mayor Alpin?
Present.
Vice Mayor Branquino?
Here.
Councilmember Danko? Here. Councilmember Finelli?
Present.
Councilmember Clufus?
Present.
Mayor, all members are present.
Thank you. When we get to the public participation opportunities in the items this evening, in order for city staff to be able to respond to your questions or concerns, please fill out a comment card with your contact information so they can get a hold of you. The comment cards can be found on the table near the agendas or from the communications director sitting in the back of the room. Public participation shall be held in accordance with Section 286.0114 Florida statutes and pursuant to the City Council's meeting policies and procedures. Each speaker shall at the podium provide their name and may speak for up to 3 minutes. The public may provide comments to the City Council relative to matters not on the agenda at the times indicated in this agenda. Following any comments from the public, there may be a discussion by the City Council. When addressing the City Council on specific enumerated agenda items, speakers shall, and all individuals shall, direct all comments to the mayor. Make their comments concise and to the point, not speak more than once on the same subject, not by speech or otherwise, delay or interrupt proceedings or the peace of the City Council. Obey the orders of the mayor or the City Council and not make any irrelevant, impertinent, or slanderous comments while addressing the City Council, which pursuant to council rules shall be considered disorderly. Any person who becomes disorderly or who fails to confine his or her comments to the identified subject or business shall be cautioned by the mayor and thereafter must conclude his or her remarks on the subject within the remaining designated time limit. Any speaker failing to comply as cautioned shall be barred from making any additional comments during the meeting and may be removed as necessary for the remainder of the meeting. So those are the rules of order for this evening. I move to item number D on our agenda, presentation, final proposed fiscal year 2022 through 2023 budget. Ms. Alves, if you would proceed with your presentation, please.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Gwen Ragsdale, Budget Procurement Manager. Tonight we'll be presenting the fiscal year 2022 revised budget, the proposed tentative millage rate, and the proposed fiscal year 23 budget. So we will start with a summary review of the proprietary funds operating budgets. As in all other budget presentations, the supporting individual budget worksheets are available to the public on our website. The proprietary funds were presented and reviewed with council in great detail at the July 26th budget workshop and again at the August 30th workshop. There have been no changes in these funds from your August 30th presentation. Water and wastewater operating funds increase of 13% from the previous fiscal year adopted budget are mainly due to the increase in operating cost, not only due to growth but also to inflation, as well as 7 new position requests to include water and wastewater system technicians, 1 plant operator, 1 foreman, 1 reclaim coordinator, and 1 construction site inspector. The stormwater maintenance budget increase of 17% from the previous fiscal year adopted budget is due to both capital and operational increases. The department is requesting 6 new full-time positions to enhance operational efficiencies, create depth, provide succession planning, meet additional regulatory requirements, and to bring staff in-house rather than paying for outside services. These positions are 2 equipment operators, 1 survey crew chief, 1 resilience compliance manager, 1 assistant stormwater maintenance manager, and 1 asset supervisor. The department is also facing operational increases due to inflation. On the capital side for fiscal year 2023 will be a higher than average capital outlay year, mostly due to projects that will be constructed with a bank loan that was obtained in fiscal year 2022. The building fund is increasing by 9.4%. There is a new position request for a building inspector as well as regular operational increases. The solid waste fund budget has increased by 55% from the previous fiscal year's adopted budget. This is due to the addition of 2 new positions for a supervisor and a field inspector, as well as the fleet request to support these positions. The additional operational increase is due to the new customer accounts that have been added, as well as implementing the new solid waste contract. For the IT enterprise accounts for the fiber and cell tower revenues and expenditures, the increase of 30% is mainly due to operating expenditures for consulting services to assist with inventorying and documenting all the fiber and assets related to the city's network. Before we move forward, does council have any questions on the proprietary funds?
Gentlemen,
I have none.
please proceed.
We will now present the capital projects fund budgets. Carl Cody reviewed these in detail with council at the August 9th and August 30th workshops. There are no significant changes from the workshops. The next slide contains a summary of the major capital projects included in the fiscal year 2023 budget. As you can see, the capital plan accounts for approximately $135 million, with the largest increases in the water, wastewater utility, followed by transportation impact fee, capital projects, and recreation impact fee. As you can see, the focus of the capital projects fund will be the maintenance and operations complex, upgrades to fire station number 25, and IT infrastructure upgrades. The streets improvement fund focus will be on the pavement program. The transportation impact fee fund will include the Belterre and Whiteview safety improvements, as well as the PV grade Matanzas Woods extension and the Citation Boulevard extension. The recreation impact fee fund will focus on the Southern Recreation Center project. The utility capital projects include the wastewater plant number 2 expansion that is being funded with the SRF loan, as well as other system improvement projects. The Stormwater Management Fund includes several capital improvements that are being funded using both SRF loan and bank loans. The Fire Impact Fee will focus on Fire Station number 22 and 26 design and construction administration. Before we move forward, does council have any questions on the capital funds budgets or projects?
Any questions at this time? No. Please proceed.
We will now review the internal services funds. We reviewed these in detail with council at the August 9th and August 30th workshops. There have been no changes. The city has 4 internal service funds. Basically, this is how we budget for departments that provide day-to-day services and support to other city departments. Fleet maintenance is requesting 1 new position, a fleet division manager. The fleet fund increasing by 54.8%. This fund fluctuates depending on the capital purchases under the fleet replacement program, as reviewed with council at the August 9th and August 30th budget workshops. The replacement list started with 181 assets. After review and assessment, Fleet has recommended the replacement of 43 assets, 4 fire items, as well as 26 new assets for departmental needs. Facilities maintenance increase of 26% is mainly due to an increase in repairs and maintenance and the transfer of operational expenditures to this fund in order to better account for cost. The Emergency Communications Fund is used to account for the maintenance and replacement of the EMS communications radios. This is similar to the fleet replacement program, and we started the process of saving for the next upgrade. The IT Internal Services Operation Fund is increasing by 17%, is due to 2 new positions requested, a Senior Applications Administrator and a Cybersecurity Administrator, as well as increase in regular operating expenditures and centralized software purchases. The Health Insurance Fund increased 6.9% is due to regular cost increases.
Questions? Thank you.
This slide provides the detail of the fleet purchases. As you can see, we have $1.6 million of new equipment requests and approximately $4.8 million for fleet replacements, of which 1.4 is for white fleet and approximately 1.5 million for fire replacement vehicles. Due to supply chain issues, we are carrying over $2.5 million from the fiscal year 2022 budget to the fiscal year 23. So before we move forward, does council have any other questions?
No.
We do not.
Okay, we will now review the special revenue funds. This is the summary of all special revenue funds. The only change from your August 30th budget workshop is to the CRA budget, where we adjusted for the July 1st valuation. As you can see in fiscal year 2023, proposed budget totals $4.2 million. There are several increases and decreases depending on the purpose of each fund. These were previously discussed in detail with council. Before we move forward, does council have any questions on the special revenue fund budgets?
We do not. Please proceed.
Alina will now review.
Thank you. So we'll now proceed with our general fund review. So these budgets were reviewed in detail at the July workshops as well as the August 30th. There have been no changes from the 30th presentation. We will first review the expenditure summary, and then we will review revenues. So expenditures have an overall increase of 7.1%. Administrative services budgets are increasing by $1,040,000. There are 3 new full-time position requests in these departments: 1 risk coordinator for human resources, 1 procurement coordinator for financial services, and 1 communications specialist for communications and marketing. There is also an increase in human resources for the benefits coordinator position that was previously split with the health insurance fund, and the addition of part-time hours for freelance communications for the communications and marketing department. The balance is comprised of regular operating increases as discussed in previous budget workshops. The construction, management, and engineering budget is increasing by $240,000, mainly due to a new position requested for an architect, as well as regular increase in operations. The planning budget is increasing by $369,000, mainly due to a request for a new community development technician to meet the level of service, as well as regular operating increases. Code enforcement increase of $304,000 is due to regular increase in regular operations, as well as an increase in budget for abandoned structures and debris removal programs. The fire department budget is increasing by $1.8 million. There are 3 new positions requested: 2 new firefighters for the fire truck, and 1 fire inspector position designed to provide additional capacity and succession in the prevention division. This budget also includes one-time increase of $640,000 to replace 2 engines and an attack truck, as well as increases in fuel and other operating costs. The law enforcement budget, providing for the enhanced services from the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, is increasing by $797,000. There are 5 new positions requested for deputies, as well as a 5% contractual increase that is built into the current contract. The Public Works Streets Maintenance budget is increasing by $854,000. There are 2 new positions requested for 2 equipment operators. These are targeted to address the increase in litter within the city, as well as maintaining the expected level of service for median maintenance. The budget also accounts for the increase in cost of operating expenditures, as well as the equipment linked to these 2 positions. Your Parks and Recreation budget is increasing by $824,000. This budget encompasses Parks General, the Palm Harbor Golf Course, the aquatic and tennis centers, as well as parks maintenance. There is 1 new position requested for the aquatics division, that is to support the extended year-round operations. The operational increases are also reflected of the increase in costs for chemicals, fuel, and other operating supplies. There is also an increase for replacement of aging equipment. The non-departmental budget is decreasing by $2.7 million, and that is mainly due to the fiscal year 2022 $2.5 million transfer for the maintenance operation complex. Here we have the summary of general fund revenues. There were no revenue changes from your presentation of August 30th. As council can see, ad valorem is the largest revenue source for the general fund. As discussed in July, the city's assessed value has increased by 19.7%, with approximately 5% attributable to new construction. Assuming the same millage rate from last year of 4.61, we would generate an additional $5.3 million in ad valorem revenues. The portion attributable to new construction is approximately $1.2 million, so the $4.1 million balance is coming from existing properties. We received all the state revenue estimates and are projecting an increase of $225,000 for all 3 revenues. The other significant change in the fund balance appropriation since the $2.5 million transfer that we spoke of earlier was a one-time transfer. For fiscal year 2023, appropriated fund balance of $750, that is to fund the contingency to handle fluctuations in revenues and expenditures, as well as the value adjustment board contingency. Before we move forward, does council have any questions on the general fund budgets?
Gentlemen, any questions up to this point? We have no questions. Please proceed.
So this is a big picture of all fund expenditures. You can see that the total for all funds is approximately $328 million. This represents an increase of 29% from your fiscal year 2022 adopted budget. The bulk of the increase, approximately $53 million, is related to major capital plans. It is accounted for by 5 funds: your utility, water, wastewater utility capital, our capital projects, fleet, recreation impact fee, transportation impact fee, and the American Rescue Plan Act fund. We will now review the millage and property tax history. This chart shows the history for the last several years for millage rate, property values, receipts collected, and population. As you can see, we have been experiencing an increase in property values as well as population growth. The fiscal year 2023 values are based on the property appraiser's July 1st valuation, and they are assuming the same millage rate from last year of 4.61. So here are your millage options. The city's maximum millage rate for fiscal year 2023 cannot exceed 4.61. The rollback rate is 4.0138. Tonight, council is approving the tentative millage rate. Council is also approving the fiscal year 2022 revised budget and the fiscal year 2023 tentative budget. We need your decision on the millage rate to prepare the appropriate resolutions, and to advertise for your final public hearing, which is scheduled for September 21st. And that public hearing will be here at 5:15 at City Hall. This concludes our presentation. We'll take questions from council.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. So let's start. City council members, any comment up to this point? Any question on the information that was presented thus far?
I just have one comment. It's
Please.
just the reason why we don't have any questions regarding this budget in this presentation. It's because we've heard it about what, 8 times, 9 times? So we almost know this, by heart. That's the reason why we don't have any questions, so people out there knows that we basically know what's going on regarding this information. Thank you.
I was going to reiterate that fact, is that we've had extensive in-depth conversations and presentations and workshops about every single fund that we just saw the high-level overview for. So we've drilled down into the details, and I appreciate the staff's time and effort that they've put in with the council members to be able to make sure that we have an elaborate depth of knowledge on what's happening.
I have no questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you again for the presentation. City Council is required to follow a very specific legal agenda because this is a special budget meeting. So at this time in the agenda, I will call for a motion to recess City Council and convene the State Road 100 Corridor CRA Board. That's necessary because it's another component of the budget process, but has to be discussed separately. So with that, I would call for a motion to approve okay, and a second, please.
Seconded.
And I have a second. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Does the clerk have the count?
Yes, motion passes 5-0.
Very good. With that, we move directly to item number E on the agenda, which is the State Road 100 Corridor CRA resolutions. And I would ask council if you would please read item number E2 into the record.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution of the State Road 100 Corridor Community Development Agency of the City of Palm Coast, Flagler County, Florida, adopting the tentative State Road 100 Corridor CRA budget for the fiscal year 2022 to 2023, amending the fiscal year 2021 to 2022 budget, and providing for an effective date.
Very good. Just for, it is printed there, but CRA stands for Community Redevelopment Agency, for anybody that's not fluent with the acronyms. So with that read into the agenda, council,
Staff has a presentation.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh, there's no presentation?
No, the
on this
CRA
one?
was reviewed with the budget presentation.
Oh, okay.
It was embedded in there, so there is no
Okay.
presentation to follow.
So any public comment on this particular
So I would
resolution?
open the item up following the public comment rules and procedures that I started the meeting with. Does anybody would like to address City Council on the CRA resolution that was just read into the record? Seeing no one approach, I will close public comment. I will come back to City Council. Any further discussion on this item?
Move to approve the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2023.
I have a motion to approve. Second. And Mr. Finelli has a second. Any additional discussion? With that said, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. So now I will reconvene the City Council to continue our budget agenda.
We still have to adjourn this other one. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, yes, thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5-0.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll, do I need a motion to reconvene?
That was the motion.
Yeah, I
That
think
was
we
the
had the motion to
Okay,
reconvene.
so we're good with that.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. So we move on to item number F and number 3. And Counselor, if you would go ahead and just read that in for us.
Yes, this is a resolution regarding the tentative millage rate, a resolution establishing a tentative ad valorem tax rate for the city of Palm Coast, Flagler County, Florida, for fiscal year 2022-2023, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. So there are several steps that I am required to read into the record. Step number 1. This item is to adopt a proposed millage rate. I will introduce the tax issue at this time. The City of Palm Coast proposes to levy a millage rate of 4.6100 mils. This is an increase of 14.85% from the rolled back rate of 4.0138 mils. So at this time, I would call for council discussion regarding this item. Anybody like to begin? Councilman?
Don't we have public comment first?
That'll be next
Oh, okay.
on the, yeah, that's right after.
Council-
If you have any discussion now, but then there's another opportunity for discussion after public
So
comment.
council discussion usually comes to dais first, then we go out, then we come back again.
Yeah. Folks, this is the budget. Stand up just so you can see it. It's kind of big. It's like a phone book. I've gone through it. If we were really serious about making cuts, we would have had workshops for days where we would have sat down with a highlighter and a pen and a pad, and we would have gone through and we would have made recommendations. We would have spent a few days doing this, a few 8, 10-hour days. But the truth of the matter is we didn't do it. And the reason we didn't do it, I think, is quite fair. We have directors that run departments. We have a city manager. That's their job to do it. None of us know how to run the fire department, the water department, utilities, or any of these other departments. We don't know what their needs are. We don't know what their wants are specifically. That's what we pay them for. That's what your tax dollars pay them for. Our job is tonight to say, here's how much money you're going to get. Now, you may want X number of dollars, but our job is to say, here's what you're actually going to get. Their job is to go back and live within the budget constraints that we give them. And I think that's why we're here tonight. I mean, the mayor had mentioned Tuesday we should all come back with line item to discuss and see what we could get rid of. And I'd be happy to do that if we were to delay this process and schedule a day or 2 or 3, and then we all dive into this thing. But we're not going to be able to do that. We have a deadline to meet on this millage rate, I believe. Is that not right? I'd like to ask our attorney.
Yes, there's a deadline to.
When's
meet
the
at the end of
deadline?
September. Helena, is it September 30th?
So, yes, we
So
would have to.
we would have until September 30th.
Well, we need
To do
time,
this.
I think we need
Or
time
not.
for the
We need to,
trim notice to go out, right? Or the
we need
notice
to adopt the
preparation.
tentative millage so that then we can have a final public hearing. So that'll happen 15 days after today.
So we have 15 days to go through this line by line and schedule these workshops, or not? Or do we have to adopt the millage rate tonight?
You have to adopt your tentative tonight, and then your final in about I think it's 15 days exactly.
So we all
from
see
today.
how silly it would be if we tried to go through this budget a couple hours tonight and make some cuts. Again, that's why we have department heads. And our job is basically to say, here's the money we're going to give you to deal with this budget. You don't always get everything you want, but we're going to give you a number and you're going to have to work with it. So I'm in favor of the full rollback, the rate of 4.0138. I'm in favor of saying, here's $250 million. Make cuts where you need to make cuts. But I am not in favor of just saying, hey, nice budget, thanks for putting it together in a binder, and here's everything you want. So that's my comment for tonight.
Thank you. Before we next, so I will caution the audience tonight, with respect to public comment and for the balance of the meeting, I will not accept or tolerate applause to delay the meeting so that others who may want to speak public comment are interfered with or, further challenged with their public comment. So please, we're here to listen to each other and to get through the agenda so that everyone has a good understanding. And Councilman Danko, I thank you for the comments. The only thing I would ask to correct is that my suggestion at the last meeting was that each city council member would go through the budget, identify any line items that they thought were inappropriate or perhaps in excess, and that they would meet with the city manager in advance of today's meeting so that those changes could be incorporated before today's meeting. That was number one. Number two, I would ask the Director of Finance to tell us how many workshops and meetings have we enjoyed in this process since its onset.
So our first general fund meeting was on July 12th. Our second, I think it was either the 19th or the 20th. July 26th was your proprietaries. August 9th was internal services and capital. August 30th was all funds, and then today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Those are the actual
And just, I'm sorry, just one last thing. And the
department
the
overviews.
budget information that we have been presented and we have all worked through diligently has been available on our city website since the beginning for
Absolutely.
all of the public to view at any time they should so desire. Just to
Absolutely.
make that clear to everybody. Good.
I appreciate that slight clarification, but the bottom line is, even if we had met with the city manager and we all had a bunch of different items to question, it wouldn't be changing this millage rate and this budget tonight. And that's the problem. The way we do this is the problem. We should be having big, long sessions where we sit here and we all get together and go through this and discuss each line item. But again, that would take a long period of time, just like I know it took a long period of time for staff to put this together, department heads to review it, city manager to look at it. So unfortunately, that's not the way we do this. But unfortunately, as a result of that, we really never question anything. We simply just rubber stamp it and move forward. I was glad to see Flagler County at least do a minimum rollback last night. I was glad to see Volusia County do the same. I'm urging that we do that we have the courage to do the full rollback, because we've all been hurt enough by this economy. And so again, I'm sticking with the 4.0138, and that's the only millage rate I will vote for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Councilman Finelli, any comment at this time?
So, Mayor, I did do what was asked of us at the last one. I went back to the budget. I read it line for line. I would agree with Mr. Danko that it is not our responsibility to manage the operations of the city. That is the city manager's job and responsibility, right? But I think it is our responsibility to know what that means when we give her a lesser amount of money than the millage rate that we had talked about. Where are those cuts coming from? What does that look like? So I did have some conversations about needs and wants. We talked about everything from solar feasibility study to saltwater canals to opening the pool year-round or heating the pool. We talked about medians, and do we, stop the flowers and the things in the medians with the city. So, I mean, there are things that are there that we could cut back, and there are things that, but it would impact us. It would impact us. It's not fat, it's meat. So it is going to impact people if we don't heat the pool. It is going to impact people if we don't get the golf carts we need for the golf course. It is going to impact people if we don't do anything with our saltwater canals, which we haven't for a long time. So I do understand that we have some tough decisions to make, and I do understand that it's not our responsibility to tell the city manager where to make those cuts, but it definitely is our responsibility to know what those cuts are going to mean for our citizens, and to know that our citizens are okay with living without those luxuries moving forward.
Thank you for your comment. Vice Mayor?
Good evening. All right. roll back. If we roll back, that means this city is going to be short $4.2 million. That's what the rollback means. If we put a hiring freeze on everybody, not just here and there, that's going to save us $1.2 million. So if we roll back, we're going to be out $3 million. Those are numbers that I got today. Because I met with 6 directors and the city manager, 3 briefly, 3 more in depth. And for the life of me, I'm sorry, I can't go to Matthew Manson and tell me why do you need a mechanic this year? Just tell me why. I know what the answer is going to be. Either we get the mechanic or we're going to be outsourcing. If we're going to be outsourcing, it's going to cost a lot more money than for us to have a mechanic. That's one line that we could, and that's every single line there that we ask. These directors have the justification as to what they need. This is one example. I could go to fire chief, sorry, ain't no 2 guys, 3 guys. Handle it the way you have it. If we're going to put a hiring freeze, once again, we'll save $1.2 million. But the domino effect that's going to create in all the departments, so I was explained, it's unbelievable. I do agree that our 2 recommendations, when somebody says that there's no recommendations, I made 2 the other day. The 2 recommendations, they're not very, well received. And one recommendation was get our raises back, take away our raises. And the other recommendation, it's the study that we do, one study alone that we all approved, all of us, not just 4, not just 3, all of us approved. It's $180,000 for a study on the dredging of canals. So those 2 alone will save the city $355. All my colleagues have to do is make a motion, and I guarantee you, I'll vote for it. I did make a few other notes over here. I'm going to have a few more comments maybe towards the end, because we just heard here tonight that the county, it's going to make, a little cut on the millage rate. Remind you, the county gets double of what we get out of your tax money on the millage rates. Double, 42% against our 24%. And they give you a lot less services than what the city does. So they did it. They could afford it. We, unfortunately, after speaking with most of the directors, talk to them. This is going to be a domino effect. And if we roll back, it's almost guaranteed that we're going to have to lay off people. Let them go. So I was told today. It's not a guarantee, but it's very close that we're going to lose people if we roll back. These are the risks of doing so. And also one thing, I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just saying I went to the director regarding a $5,000, that we spoke over here, and I'm not being facetious, Mr. Tango. I just went to, and I wanted to find out. And I was told that this has nothing to do with personnel. This is a program to help. It's something that we all asked for. And that was for Ms. Kershaw. And if you need more explanations, I'm pretty sure that she will be able to give it to you, the same way she gave them to me. So that's not the biggest problem. If anybody here thinks that we love raising your taxes, think again. It breaks my heart what I heard over here, the lady, the widow, story. It's heartbreaking. But meanwhile, you have to think that 80% of people, sir, 80% of the people here in Palm Coast are homesteaded, of homeowners, of course. easily. It's probably a little more. And if they get what I got, my taxes will go up $51 a year, $4 a month. Sure, there are people that are going to get hit, especially those who come from out of state. Those who come from out of state, and if they're not homesteaded, they're going to get hit. I mentioned it the other day. For the life of me, my house, I bought it for $236,000. My house is worth it now $600,000. How's that possible? How is that possible? We don't do that. The state actually, like our council said, the state actually regulates that, not us. So I'll save any further comments towards the end. And I'm sorry.
Thank you, Vice
If I
Mayor.
offended anybody, I didn't mean to.
No, thank
And
you,
I mean it.
thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you for your comment. Councilman Clufus?
Yes. I don't want to pontificate and reiterate what has already been said, but it is our responsibility. I would completely agree with Councilman Finelli to kind of keep the car inside the lanes, but when it comes down to day-to-day operations, we don't understand exactly what chemicals are needed at the water treatment plant when we're told, you know, hey, 12% increase on X chemical. Okay, we have to trust our directors. Another example is our fleet replacement program. We have data-driven decisions now that the replacement of some of these fleet vehicles, the majority of these fleet vehicles, is because it'll cost us more to hold on to these assets. And we took advantage of the higher auction market, and this is a program that we're going to save money in the long term. Another item that we really don't talk enough about is our underfunded street paving program. And we have LiDAR data now, where basically they go around the city and they generate all the cracks in the roads, and they can give us an exact score on on the quality of these roads and the options to remill or, you know, re-oil to try to bring them up to a certain quality. And it's been underfunded for many years, and now we're at a breaking point where if we don't spend a little bit more money now, it's going to cost us a little bit more exponentially each year until we're at a place where we either have to make major changes or the streets fall into disrepair. I really encourage everyone to go back and watch our workshop YouTube videos. They're great because they go through line item by line item in each of the different budgets, unlike today where it was very high level. But a lot of these questions that have been asked and the justifications for a lot of these positions are explained, like stormwater, you know, what's the outlook for swale maintenance in this upcoming year and how do we accomplish that? Do we need another crew? Do we need a second set of vehicles? All these things have been discussed in our extended budget workshops. And if we are just to set an X number millage rate, then I think it is our job to be able to at least advise our city manager to direct the directors on how these cuts would be made. If we just say, here, we're going back to the full rollback rate, I would agree with my colleagues that it worries me on where those cuts would come from. Are we not going to hire the 7 emergency personnel that are going to help save, you know, potentially our lives or provide safety? Or are we going to be eliminating, you know, additional money from the street paving program? I think these are decisions that we're responsible for up here, and that is the burden. But that is also why we sit up here and we sit through these extensive workshops, is that so we understand exactly the justification for these things, and if we need to make cuts, then we have that information available to us. But the YouTube videos are great for the data-driven analysis of how we got to this point today. And again, I'm not going to pontificate, and I appreciate my colleagues' responses.
Thank you, Councilman. Yeah, go ahead. No, please.
With all due respect, and last week I did misspoke about the street programs, fixing the streets. I mentioned that we need $7 million for next year, and somebody out there corrected me, and I read it, and it's $8.5 million that we're going to need to fix our streets up there. And if we don't do it soon, for what I understand, correct me again if I'm not wrong, it's going to be over $20 million if we wait another year or so. So when we postpone this another year, if we were going to postpone this another year, your streets are going to be filled with water because of the holes. Okay, I just wanted to add that. It's very important. I'm not justifying. I'm just telling you that I did misspeak. It's not 7 million, 8.5 million, and if we don't do it, it's going to go over 20 million in about a year and a half or so. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. My only comment at this point in the meeting is just a reference. Ms. Alves, this process started in what month?
budget process started in, yeah, basically with the SAP
So-
evaluation and the meetings with council. That's what set the direction for where we are
So
today.
we're into the process 6.5 months.
That is correct, yes.
Going through with the various discussions, workshops, just to show that. Now, the only other point I would make, and just as a conversation, this is a process which has been in place in the city for some number of years. City Manager, how long have you been working with the strategic action plan process to develop the priorities, which then convert into the line item detailed budgets? How long have we been using this process?
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
Decade.
Now, that's not to say that it can't also be improved in the future. This is the process that we have, all of us, agreed and voted on to use this current fiscal period. If we would like to alter it in the future, that's certainly opportunity for discussion. And certainly I would, make your comments to City Manager, down the road if you think that we can fine tune this process even better to present, promote, and quite frankly, to find a way to present, promote, and advertise the information correctly, transparently, and accurately to all of our residents. The disinformation has been rampant, and it bothers me to no end that the factual information which is available and has been on our city website every day of those 7.5 months is not understood or even realized by all of our residents, because I would invite all of the community to participate in the process every step of the way. That's my comment for now. I have other comments later.
I would just like to
Yes, sir.
add something. I agree with you. We need to find a way to change this process.
Okay.
We've been doing it for 10 years, and it's clear by where we're at tonight, it's a failed process. It doesn't work. You folks at home, you don't get to sit around for 4 or 5 months and, go over your budget and put it in a big book. You get hit with inflation, you get hit with a recession, you get hit with gasoline prices through the ceiling, utility bills, so on and so forth. You sit at the kitchen table and you say, okay, that's it. We've got to cut what we're spending. Maybe we don't get steak as often as we got it. Maybe we buy hot dogs, maybe we buy chicken. Whatever it is, we deal with it at home in a obviously a smaller level than we do on a city, but it's still the same thing. My feeling is roll back the millage rate 1 year, live on the $250 million that we had last year, next year, and then fix the process moving forward. There are things that our directors can find that they can cut. Yes, there's things they don't want to cut. Nobody wants to cut. But in the real world, in the corporate world where I came from, we would get a budget. It may not have been what we wanted to spend, but that was the budget we were given. We had to live within it. If we didn't live within it, we got fired. So I'm saying I support the rollback 100% for this year.
So, and my only comment, just to kind of close this up, is that over the 7.5 month period, I personally feel there's been ample opportunity to address and to actually direct staff to make cuts that City Council feels are appropriate. However, I absolutely agree that there can always be a better process, no question about it, especially when you are facing, uncertain and difficult times. Perhaps the process needs to be adjusted, and I hope you'll lead the charge on that as we look forward to, refining the next process.
Well, we do have an opportunity to do that, especially considering that 2 of us won't be here after November. We'll have 2 more members. Mr. Kloufis, he's termed out, from this election, so 2 more years. So the only people that are really going to have to answer to these folks are going to be you and me, because the rest will be gone. And early on in this process, I let staff know, right from here, that I would not be voting for any tax increase, to tighten your belts and cut back. But obviously, looking inside this book, that didn't happen.
So,
Look correction.
hold on one second. So I welcome that, based on the reformation of the city council, I welcome the discussion to further fine tune the process. Hopefully we can.
I agree.
We can together champion that process.
But in the meantime, we need to worry about these folks and
Yep.
what they're facing at home. And a tax increase is the last thing you folks need.
Okay.
I
Vice
just
Mayor.
want to say that the one who's termed out is not Nick, it's me. Nick is going to be here.
No,
for
no,
next-
Nick is termed out in 2 years, is
Oh,
what I
in 2
meant.
years. Okay,
2
I'm
years.
sorry.
He's
I
got
just
2 more,
put
but
that
then
right.
he's termed out, he can't run again.
I just want
Got
to
it.
remind
Okay.
people out there that we
All right, gentlemen,
brought the millage rate down last year.
halfway. Mhm.
We brought it down last year, okay? And that could be one of the reasons why. And, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned the word transparency. I doubt that anybody amongst us over here and those out there that have been here in the meetings, they ever seen anything but transparency on our side. Actually, we won a few words. We won the most transparent city in Florida. We won the best place to retire in the whole United States. And we won also the best water in Northeast. Is it correct, the Northeast?
How about all of Florida?
No, I think it was just the Northeast, if I'm mistaken, but still the best water. Those are things that we should be proud of. And this is just talking about the mayor, talking about transparency. Okay.
So in that same vein, if I could, and it's just about clearing up misinformation. A lot of things that I've learned through this process that I didn't know. We have the lowest millage rate of any municipality in our county, including the county government, by a lot. We have the lowest millage rate. We also only receive 23% of that tax revenue back to the city. So your tax bill, only 23% of it is ours. The majority of it goes elsewhere besides here. So those were just some things that I learned in the process that I was not fully aware of and familiar with when we started this budget process.
Thank you, gentlemen. We move now to step number 2 as I follow the legally required agenda for this evening in order to hear public comment on the proposed millage rate. So we will now hear public comments regarding the proposed millage rate. The general public must be allowed to speak and to ask questions prior to the adoption of any measure by the governing body. So I would invite anyone to come to the podium at this time to please state your name for the record, and each speaker will have 3 minutes. And I would just remind the audience, with respect to each speaker, please hold your applause till after the meeting. Congratulate them on the way out, but let's be respectful to each speaker's time, focus, and concentration. So with that, please begin.
Thank you. My name is Susie Schaefer, and this is about the millage rate and the budget that's coming down through to this. And I have a couple of questions because, I understand we all are suffering with supply chain issues. And I know the costs have gone up for everyone, us included, as well as all of our supplies for our facilities. So with that said, maybe we should postpone some of these big projects that are on this list. The other night, Vice Mayor, you mentioned that when I said something about the 14 million for the maintenance operations complex.
Please direct your comments to me, just
Oh,
so
I'm
we
sorry.
keep on the agenda.
Well,
That's
he
okay.
mentioned it,
No,
so, okay.
That's fine, just to me, thank you.
So, okay, you said you needed this money because the roof leaked and things like that. So if the roof leaks, why can't we fix the roof for right now instead of asking for 14 million? If we're 4.2 million short, we could take 4 million out of the 14 million and we would be good, in my opinion. Next up is on the recreational impact fees. When we're talking about being short, we have recreational impact fees of, okay, the Southern Recreational Facility from $563,000 to $10 million. Can we budget this back a little bit so that we don't need to spend all this money? I mean, I understand that we want to keep Palm Coast beautiful. We need roads, we need additional employees. So you guys keep talking about, oh, if we don't get this, we're gonna be removed from this. But there's other line items that you're not talking about that looks like maybe we could look at a little more deeply. And I'm just asking, I wouldn't want to be in your place. I appreciate everything that you do, but you got to look at every single person that lives in Palm Coast is hurting because of everything. And I have friends who want to move here, and I'm telling them, don't move here because you can't afford the damn taxes. So I'm just asking, please reconsider for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Alves, there are questions and points that you can answer rather succinctly in terms of why those, how those funds operate. Do you want to wait till the end of, do you want to make notes and wait till the end of public comment and address them?
It may be beneficial just to knock out the impact fees being used for other things, just for everyone's posterity.
All right,
I would
just,
agree,
just in
'cause it
advance,
creates
so
precedent.
would you mind addressing the points about those two items in particular, just so there's an understanding of the lack of flexibility with those dollars, just so it's the definition, please.
So as far as the Maintenance Operations Center for Public Works, the revenues that support that facility, that are funding that project, are coming from restricted revenue that comes to us from the sales tax, the surtax that comes to us from the state. It is designated for capital improvements within the city, so they're not general revenues that could be substituted for general fund revenues.
So help us just underscore the term restricted. In other words, we have
They're
no.
specific for capital type of projects.
It would be illegal for us to use that funding for anything outside of that project.
And the impact fees, they can only be used by law for projects that are adding capacity. So they can't even be used for rehabbing existing facilities. It has to be for facilities that provide new features for the residents.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, I just
Oh.
want to make sure I
Hold
understand
on,
what
you
you're
only
saying here.
you only get one bite at the apple here, so what I'm going to ask you to do,
This is not, she didn't answer what I said.
well, we've answered to the best of our ability now, and I will have Ms. Alves get with you, at the end to describe it more carefully or to your satisfaction. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I want to make sure I understand. When we're talking about capital improvement projects, things like our racquetball tennis court center, that's all going to be paid for out of those funds, correct?
That is correct.
However, how are we going to maintain them? That's not paid out of those funds. The people that we're going to have to hire to staff this facility is not paid for out of these funds. So I think we got to be completely transparent here. Yeah, we may have X number of dollars to build it, but we don't have the money to maintain it, to hire staff to fix it.
So is that,
And I think that's
is that pertinent to this evening's
well,
budget?
I think it is because.
I mean, is that a longer-term vision question
it's not
to fine-tune the
We've
the
decided to
process?
go ahead with this racquetball center.
But
we're misleading folks when we say it's 100% paid for out of these improvement.
No, I
funds.
think what Ms. Alves says was that those monies can only be used for those projects.
We create something that we then have to fund later
So-
out of tax dollars. And that's why sometimes cutting back on some of this stuff is important.
But
Because we're just creating more things that we're going to have
But
to
does
pay
not
for down the
relieve,
road.
but does not relieve the burden that you referred to in this particular budget. Perhaps for the future, we can fine-tune so that be clearer that way.
We have to be clear
Good.
about that, I think.
And
absolutely.
you know that I am all about ROI.
Mm-hmm.
So investing and getting a return, you have my attention on that totally.
That's good.
So with respect to the public, please step forward for the next question.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Donna Kaler. I had some notes prepared for this evening. I'm going to ad lib on myself here a little bit. I started out with my notes by reminding council of the day-to-day limitations of living within a budget. I found out this morning, my nest egg has shrunk by 20% in the last year and a half. Now, I'm not going to tell you what that translates into dollars. It's none of your business. But 20% is a big bite out of my apple. Meanwhile, taxes are going up. Vice Mayor, you said it's true. Everybody's homesteaded. I'm sorry. Everybody's homesteaded. But the people that are going to pay this 15% are the landlords, are the business owners, the people that we have to do business with to live, the shop owners, the salons, everybody else is going to have to pass that 15% on down to us. So I think when you're talking about the homestead, that's great for the people that are homesteaded, but it's not so great for the rest of us who have to shop, buy whatever we need to live at 15% more. Sometimes we can afford a few wants, but most of the time we have to stick within our means. We have to live within our means. My means has been reduced by 20%. I may or may not get it back. It depends on what Washington does. You folks have a fiduciary responsibility to spend the budget wisely. And I say spend the budget because, after all, it's not your money. It's ours. I think you noticed last night there was a very high level of emotion. Mine's kind of rising up right now. You've lost a lot of ground with respect to trust, but you have an opportunity to earn it back. You really do. I would like you to remember that you represent us. You don't dictate to us. You can put capital projects on a ballot. That was an overwhelming subject of conversation last night after the meeting. Trust our good judgment. And I just have one question before I completely lose it here. I have no idea who my representative is on council. I live on Edison Street. Who's my representative? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. The next speaker, please.
My name is Lee Dungy, and 5 years ago I moved to Palm Coast from the Chicagoland area. And smartest thing I ever did. I love living here, but it is disappointing to see that sometimes politicians, no matter where they are, act the same. If you can get the money, it seems like you take it. I noticed in the printouts that you guys had, for the past 4 years, your ad valorem receipts have increased by roughly $2 million a year. You're projected for 2023 to get $5.5 million more dollars. You've got plenty of room to not spend it all. The other thing, though, is that it isn't just the real estate taxes. Our water and sewer bills have gone up 21% over the last 4 years. The stormwater charge is going to more than double by 2024. Our garbage collection fees have gone up, will have gone up 59% from the beginning of 2021. All that is money out of our pockets. I never hear about a city laying people off. When a business doesn't have enough income, they have to cut. And your job is to set priorities. If we've got to spend more money for our roads, then maybe the parks don't get attention for a year or two. But when you let a city manager let everybody give them a wish list, every department's going to say everything is absolutely necessary. And what you ought to do is start at how much money can we expect, and then find out how are we going to spend it wisely. There's plenty of new homes coming in here. That's additional tax money that you didn't have last year, and it'll be the same next year as we continue to grow, because everywhere you look, building is going up. So I urge you guys, Don't just say, oh, well, I can get it, I'm going to spend it. Do it wisely, but do it remembering that we're already paying extra fees for your utilities, the stormwater, the garbage collections. We don't want to have the extra expense on our real estate taxes. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. The next speaker, please.
Mary Hampton, 3 Erickson, Palm Coast. And I did not see any line item on the Parks and Recreation and on the fleet of cars about the tax-paid, ongoing tax-funded golf course. From the beginning, this has cost us millions and millions of dollars, and I haven't seen anything lately. So you did mention earlier that there was something on the website. Would there be something specific about all the expenses? For instance, I heard on the radio lately that come to the Palm Harbor Golf Course because we have all new golf carts. Well, those golf carts are under the fleet expenses, which I did see. The fleet expenses are part of the city tax-paid expenses, as is the golf course itself. Is there a specific line item for that golf course? And why does the government have something like a golf course? I mean, are we capitalists or communists? Because we're providing competition against some private facilities in town. And so I have a lot of questions about that, and I would like to see more numbers about the golf course and have that explained, and see if there are any specific line items in the computer on the golf course that we're all paying for. Why are we paying our tax money for a golf course when the price of eggs I saw were $7 in Winn-Dixie the other day? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. City Manager, you'll get the context so Ms. Alves can point out the pertinent sections and items in the budget that describe the expenses related to the Palm Harbor Golf Course.
Absolutely. I would just encourage our speakers again to make note of the card and be able
Yeah.
to leave us with contact information if you're not going to stay.
Very good. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Anna Sadatju, and I apologize. I'm reading from my phone, but printer ink has been cut from my budget. From the public participation both Tuesday evening and tonight, the public is clearly stating no to any tax increase. Everyone has dealt with the financial impact of the recession, inflation, $5 gas, exorbitant food prices. Most especially for those on a fixed income, the fat was cut from their budgets when they retired. This past 12 to 14 months, people have had to prioritize which necessities rank higher, shelving the remaining necessities and shelving all their wants, all with the same money budgeted last year and the year before. We don't get, quote, operational increases due to inflation. The City of Palm Coast needs to take the new tax revenue to be realized from new homeowners such as myself, someone, as I said on Tuesday evening, bought in 2021, set to pay more than double the prior owner, along with the remaining existing revenue that you've been receiving. This total tax is your budget, and like many of us, it's what we call a fixed budget. The budget needs to comprehend operational increases due to inflation, just like my fixed budget has to comprehend increased food prices due to inflation. This budget needs to put on hold any capital improvements, spending solely on necessary capital maintenance. Hiring new personnel should be put on hold unless the position is considered critical and essential. The review of the proposed 2023 budget clearly indicates that a basic arithmetic lesson on the meaning of operating with a fixed budget is needed. There are many citizens, such as myself, who will avail ourselves to instruct those who need this budgeting basic. Because this proposed budget is not personal, it still contains fat. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. And the next speaker, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Ken McDowell. I live over in District 2. this is unnecessary. I looked at the budget that Mr. Danko held up. It's nice and pretty, but like all budgets, they're wish list. They need to be scrubbed down to reality. With all of this development we have going on around here, all of you like to brag about impact fees. Well, you know, those impact fees are one time. We have to absorb the rest of the cost of those developments and improvements, etc. That's on us. Hence, we need a larger budget. No, we don't need a larger budget right now. You want to go buy a pound of hamburger that's increased by 40%, 50%? That's to eat on. This budget can be amended, scrubbed, and held off for increased consideration for at least a year. At least a year. We've got to get through this recession, could go into a depression, and the inflation that we're suffering, as said earlier. This is not good. This is good. I maintain, and I implore you to maintain the current millage rate, do not increase anything, and go back to each of our city manager, all of the leaders back here in the back, to go back and scrub some of their wish list items on their budget. And we can get through this, but we're not going to get through it with this increase. It's going to roll, like the lady said before, it's going to roll down to renters and others, and it's going to cause economic hardships because the property owners are going to pass this increase on to the renters. It's going to pass on to other people. This is not good, and you know it's not good. Each and every one of you know it's not good. And it's not good for the people back here and the people out there in this city. They are against it. Go do a straw poll somewhere. They are 100% against this. And you're fighting the city, the people that put you in those office. You're fighting those very constituents. Stand with them. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm William Roberts. Thank you for your time. I'm from, I believe, District 2. I support most of the comments that were said today. I didn't like one of the comments. I'm not sure I could pronounce your name. Eddie?
Eddie.
Yeah.
Please stay here to me.
Yeah. I don't know if you could hear me. But I didn't appreciate one of those comments about 20%. What's the word? Being homestead. I just homesteaded last year. This is my baseline for this tax right now. And it's up really high because I checked the taxes before I build on my land. And what I'm upset about, and how you said that, people from out of state footing the bill. I bought this lot 21 years ago in hopes to come down here and live with my family after I retired. I've been paying taxes to Palm Coast and Flagler County for over 21 years. And before I broke ground on a house, you know, I went to see how much it would cost, and they told me it'd be around $6,000. I'm thinking now it's going to be between $8,000 and $9,000. I can't afford it. So my dream has been killed here. I'm going to have to sell the house. Of course, I'm going to have to scrub pennies together and eat hot dogs for 2 years so I don't have to absorb the capital gains. But it really burns me up. I'm thinking, with all the extra houses being built and some of the businesses and things coming here, that adds more revenue and more money to your tax base. I think that's your tax budget, to keep the rollback to the old millage rate, and that should be the budget. We all in this room, everyone had to take cutbacks and learn how to deal with the budget, and I think the city of Palm Coast needs to too. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Alan Lowe. This past Tuesday, this room was full, the overflow room was full, standing room only. And contrary to what some of the media may have reported, there was about 30 people that came up and spoke, not about 12. Well, we discovered that most of the people that came up, if not all the people that came up, were angry. And I think we've looked at something in the budget process a little bit backwards. What we've done is asked the city, asked staff to come up with what they need, and then we raise the millage rate or we raise property tax. We do what we have to do to get the money to cover what they've asked for. Instead of saying, this is what we have, you make your budget fit it. I think that's the more appropriate way to do it in the future. But I don't want to come up here and just complain. I found it very interesting what the vice mayor said a little while ago about some of the cuts and that we would be about $3 million short, because oddly, I was going to come up and speak about something that actually comes out to $3 million. When we buy a home and we build the house or buy an existing house, we are responsible for mowing and maintaining the 20-foot setback, which is commonly called the swale area, in the front of the house. Each homeowner pays for that or does it themselves. This is not my original idea. This came up in the past. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the city mows the front swale area from time to time of the unimproved residential lots. So the city taxpayers are paying for the maintenance of the 20-foot setback on the unimproved property. Well, if we were to do $25 a cut, 12 mowings, charge the unimproved homeowner under perhaps a special taxing district $300 a year, I've heard different numbers, but there's somewhere between 10,000 and 13,000 unimproved lots in Palm Coast. I don't know if the number's correct, but if it is, 10,000 times 300 is oddly $3 million. It would cover the shortfalls. So I'm saying look outside the box at other ways of generating revenue rather than just saying, here's what we need, now let's raise the tax rate to match it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
My name is Stephen Merritt. I was not planning on speaking. I'm not a politician. I've never cared about getting involved in politics. I'm an outsider. My wife and I moved here to Palm Coast roughly 5 years ago, and I'm outraged. We talk about a budget. I hear people talk about we're on a fixed income. My income's not fixed. My income is broken. And when I budget things for my house, I make the wisest decision I can make for myself and for my family. If the money's not there, I can't spend it. If the money's there and I choose to spend it, I want to make sure I'm getting something for the money that I spend. When I look at the tax increases of 15%, where does that come from and where does it go to? I can't go to my boss at work and say, give me a 15% increase so I can pay more taxes. My cost of living increase is nowhere near 15%. So how do I pay more money when I take in less money? But that's what we have to do. I look at the things that our tax money goes towards. I live in the C-section, fortunate to live on the saltwater canal. We moved to Palm Coast for the beauty of the area. I like to see the plants and the flowers and the trees and everything well maintained. But I pay a lot of money to live on the canal, and the canals are crap. I believe some have said the canal should be an average of 8 feet. In a lot of locations, it's less than 2 feet. The trash pickup, not dependable. I'm paying almost $400 a month for my electric, almost $400 a month for my water, and enough is enough. I wish I could do more to help. Like I said, I'm not a politician. I've sat back and not done a whole lot. But I feel like I need to say something. I feel like I need to get more involved. I feel like if I'm going to sit back and complain, maybe I can, instead of complaining, get involved and try to help the situation.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Hello again. My name's Amy Listowski. I was here last time. Well, 2 times ago. I didn't know about your last meeting. And I was the only one here, and I told you there was all these outraged citizens, and I guess you couldn't believe me because they weren't here. I guess I came here because I'm trying to not be a public speaker, but to get the point out that, you know, you had mentioned that a lot of people here are homesteaded, and that is a great feature, and even people that didn't become homesteaded, that have investment properties and other, they do have the break of a 10% cap. But since 2021, there's been a lot of people, and you've had a lot of new homes, which bring in a lot more revenue, and those are the people that are being hit. And as you heard, somebody just built a house, and their taxes are $9,000. That's not something you can afford to pay, even if you're living up north and making a very high income. So if my calculations are kind of correct, and I think other people's are also, you are, as a city, looking at about $5.5 million more in revenue that you could spend where it's needed. And it seems like you're trying to spend closer to $74 million. Well, the people just can't afford that. And I'm very, very sorry, but we would like to, but we are, you know, if you're working down here, you're making less than up north. And if you're retired down here, you're on a very tight budget. And I know that a lot of people that work here for the town and the city and the county and everything else, they've been here for a long time. So these budgets that they propose, it is needs, it is wishes, it's, you know, what they'd like. And these taxes don't affect them as much as they affect other people, like seniors and widows and newcomers. So I think the whole thing is for you to look at what you're actually bringing in more and do the right thing, roll back the taxes, make do with what you have, and spend it where it's necessary. And, you know, maybe you don't need to double the budget at the city manager, or maybe you don't need 2 more IT people, or maybe you don't need whatever, as many employees. I know it's hard because we are all facing a recession. We're all facing higher water tax, homeowners insurance, car insurance, everything went up, including food and gas for everybody. So, you know, unfortunately, taxes are something that cannot take this huge jump that we can just, you know, eat and just go home to bed and just feel good about. This is something that's critical, that it puts a huge, huge thing. I mean, I personally did a whole spreadsheet for the appraiser because I found so many discrepancies that I was like, what's going on here? People that bought $800,000 taxes paying $500,000 assessments. Like, I don't understand that. But, you know, I don't know how to reconcile that. I gave it to him. I just said it just doesn't seem fair. But thank you for your time. I hope you'll do the right thing. I hope you'll consider me and all my neighbors, and that we like living here, but we need to be able to afford it.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Kelly Schmidt, and I noticed that fleet management is at over 54%. So my question is about these F-150s, like, is that code enforcement? What do they use those for?
Is that
a question?
Why don't you finish your comment, and then if we need to address it, we can. Is that your question?
Yeah. Like, do they need?
Ms. Alves, is there a descriptor in the budget that breaks down where the vehicles are used?
So yes, the budget worksheets for each department, if there's new equipment or even IT equipment purchases, they are broken down under separate lines. The link is available on our website. We actually created a tile for the 2023 budget preparation, so you can just hit the tile and it'll bring you to the individual worksheets.
And there's an obsolescence policy when vehicles reach a certain age so that the maintenance doesn't exceed the value of the vehicle and cost us more, and the replacement process and procedure rolls forward. And it's my understanding, as it was presented, that policy is in play and actually is a savings as opposed to holding on and absorbing repair costs.
There is a quite significant review process that goes to the purchase of any type of vehicle or equipment, and if you need additional information, I'm sure
And we'll get your comment, and we can go through with it in much more detail. I mean, I understand the question,
I
and
would assume there's more affordable vehicles.
So just a quick footnote here, code enforcement are not receiving any new F-150s. I went through the fleet vehicle inventory that's coming through. They're getting the cheaper Mavericks, which are like Ford Ranger style trucks. A lot of the F-150s are for utility and stormwater, places where they're going to be driving in flooded areas, and they need that type of capacity. So I also heard that we were getting 70 new F-150s. That wasn't true. That was also some of the misinformation I saw going around. But code enforcement doesn't seem to be getting any new F-150s. It's the smaller, more affordable Mavericks.
we can offer you the exact breakdown of those vehicles and their intended use and what they're replacing.
Because there are more affordable vehicles than that.
We'll get to the information, and you can have that discussion so you can understand the process and why they were chosen, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, my name is Thomas Rohr. My family and I had just moved down here just this year. We came from New York, probably could tell by the accent. Left there for many reasons, corruption, theft. Everybody wants money, nobody gives it back to the working class who supports the country. People seem to forget about that. I moved down here, I took almost 50% pay cut to better life for my kids as well as my wife and I. Just found out the other day when I called tax collectors that my taxes are going to $6,000 next year. My taxes in New York were $7,000, making almost double what I'm making now. So I don't know how, maybe you guys just don't grasp the situation, what we're making and what you guys are charging us every year. I don't know where you guys think our money is coming from, because there's no tree in my backyard that has $100 bills growing on it. I have to go to work every day, 10 hours a day, just to put food on my family's table, and you guys want more money. Do I ask for more money? No, because I got to pay it back, right? Every month, loans, mortgage, rent, car loans. Was this forgotten about? Nothing comes for free in life. We have to bust our asses. There's no such thing. This is not socialism. This is America. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please. Speaker, please.
Jane Gentile, I live in Flagler County. I am not a resident, actually, of Palm Coast, but I have enough experience trying to help friends stop something being built. I commend you. Your budget presentation is far better, at least for people to read, than the county, and I'm going to suggest to them they implement some of your changes. At least you let the public know what's going on. I'm shocked to see, with all the building that's going on, that your income from your permit fees is incredible. It's almost nothing. Why aren't you charging these developers who are taking vacant land and building all kinds and making fortunes? And the permit fees, the same with the county, same issue I'm going to bring up to them. The permit fees it's malnutrition. The other thing that concerns me even more is, and I must admit that our own finance director, Mr. Brower, didn't have an answer for me, and I was shocked. I actually got it yesterday from attending the county's priority request from the legislature. In Flagler County, in unincorporated, 89% of the ad valorem revenue comes from residential homes, homestead or non-homestead, although the residential property is only 12% of all the land. The vacant land income is 0.57, less than 1%, and the vacant land is over 70% vacant land in Flagler County. So I think that both the county as well as Palm Coast, you need to start taxing vacant landowners who are sitting there paying nothing and then coming and getting rezonings and building storage facilities and homes and making millions. I think it's a problem in the county as well as Palm Coast that the residents are being taxed while the vacant landowners are sitting on juicy profits and paying zero. You need to do something. You will get more money there. That is something that you're not going after. And the other thing is the permit fees. I think it's ridiculous. You're paying your building staff far more in salary, I believe, than you're getting in permit fees. And I thank you so much for listening to me and your time. I hope you take my suggestions and do something with them.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Alan Bortoli, and I probably should have, I don't remember much about my public sector management classes in college, but probably could be useful in tonight. But first of all, thank you for having us talk. And I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, to be honest. This is a tough decision. So that being said, about over a year ago, January, I was renting at the time, and they would say, hey, your rent's going up $300 a month. And I'm like, you know what? It's worth getting a mortgage. I'm going to buy a house. So I buy a house, and I was first told, not that much of an increase in my property taxes. And I get the note, and I find out it's gone up almost 100%. And I understand there's some people here that actually it's gone up much higher. And I just bought this house last year here, and it's shocking because, I live on a budget. I put a financial plan in action last year to save money, buying a house, save money, property, all those good things. Find out that now, probably by the end of this year, I'm probably going to have to go into my savings to cover this cost. And I understand I got to pay taxes back even for, I don't know, to when. And it's just, to me, it's not even so much the millage increase, but it's just the unfairness of new homeowners being slammed with 100, 200, I don't know how many percentage in increase. And something about that system seems unfair to me. When current owners that system should be revisited. And maybe this is not the place to talk about this. Maybe there's laws in place. I don't know. Like I said, I've never paid much attention to these types of things. That's really something like I would tell my boss at work, say, run it up the flagpole. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Jaden Chavez, 65 Woodhaven Drive. My concern is, you got to think about it. We want a rollback. The people behind me have spoken, and everybody here has agreed that we don't want to pay more. We pay enough. Times are hard for us all. I've only seen one person on this dais, Mr. Danko. He's the only person that has actually said we need a rollback. It's very important because you got to think about it. We've been through hard times. I don't know what to say other than I just want a better life for the new incoming people of Palm Coast. Because remember, the city's growing. We have much more to do. We have many more responsibilities that you guys have to deal with. And I'm not upset with any of you. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. Just think about it. Roll back, roll back, roll back. It is important. We have a beautiful city, and I cannot wait to see more years to come. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Larissa Bolotnikov. I live 21 years here, and city growing with me. And I saw a lot of councils here and people who care about the country, about our city. And I was here on Tuesday, I'm here today. I am so glad that we have so many people, residents, very wisely speaking here and give good advices to you. You know, I know that people can listen and people can hear it. So what we want, probably all of us, that you will not just listen to us, you will hear us and you will do something. So this budget cannot be approved, for sure, 100%. We're in a recession time right now, and you want to increase our spending. That's wrong. That's opposite to everything that happened right now. One more thing I want to mention also, you cannot compare property taxes here with the different cities. Like you cannot compare with New York, with Jacksonville, with even Daytona. You know, we are here in our city, in your job, your fiduciary. Make us happy here. We want to be happy here because it's a beautiful place, nice people. Take please to consideration everything that people told here you and revise the budget. That's not right. You cannot punish people if you want to make wishes list for somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Scott Campion. I own a restaurant and bar here and some rental properties, and I just wanted to mention, I was actually asked by some of the other restaurant owners that I deal with to come up and talk, and you know, our costs have gone through the roof, as everybody knows, with the inflation on the food costs and beverage costs, and it's really hard to pass it on to the customers because we can't charge $30 for a hamburger. You know, it's just gotten crazy, and I know this is really going to be another expense that we're going to have to, incur. It's unfortunate for us, and also with rental properties. I mean, I'm fortunate. I have some rental properties, and I own some property here, but I'm trying to keep my rents affordable to my people. But and I haven't raised a lot of them, for years, and I might have to raise now. I don't know. We'll have to see what the taxes do. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker.
Hello, Bill Plusketch. I was here the other night. You mentioned 80% of the people here are homesteaded. I'm one of them, but I came in 2021. I'm sure there's thousands of people that came in 2021, and I understand that some people moved from one part of Florida to another, and they have some homesteading built in, but I know there's thousands like me that moved from another state. My taxes are going to be $6,300. If you do not change, or if you lower the millage rate, it's still going to be $5,600. Again, my neighbors are paying $1,000. I mean, one is paying $1,000. If he gets a 3% this year, he goes up $30. Next year, if I'm sure I'm going to be stuck with 63 from what I'm hearing, I can go up 190. So in 10 years, his can go to $300, mine can go to $1,900 in 10 years. What else I can say? So there's something wrong with the whole system that I'm sure this hasn't happened in many years. I think there was a problem here around maybe 2004 when property rates went really crazy and then dropped again. But it's unbelievable that I'll be paying 4 to 5 times more to my neighbors. There must be a better system. It's probably a Florida thing. It's not really you guys, but my appraisal, if I bought the year before, I was looking at houses similar to mine, I would have saved my assessment for taxes would have been about $70,000 to $80,000 less because I would have been homesteaded in, that I could see the appraisals. The appraisals went up on an average house maybe, and land, I saw the land went from about 25 to 50, and then the houses, say, were 214, went up to 260. And those people that bought 1 year before me are now getting about $70,000 homesteaded, where I'm exactly I'm homesteaded, but I mean, my assessment is the same as my market value. So again, I'm getting hit with $6,300, and I know that's thousands of people here, and it just doesn't seem right. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Beate Di Bottoli, and we just moved here last year, November. And we must have picked the wrong time, I would say, because last year, this year, we get hit pretty hard. And we thought like, well, property taxes may increase by 40%, 50%. We're gonna pay 100% more than the previous owner. And I don't understand why there is not, it's a circumstance what we have here, no one maybe saw coming. But if there could be something in place which makes a cap on, okay, it's going to be 10%, 40%, 50% more, but not 100, or from other people yesterday, they get hit with an increase of almost 250%. That's extreme. And you mentioned earlier, you're inviting people, you're encouraging people to retire here. That may ruin our plans for retirement. And I feel bad about friends just moving here. In 1.5 hours, they're going to be here with their moving truck, but they don't know yet that their property tax, it's going to increase by 100% too. So rarely 3,000 they had. They were expecting 4,000. Now they're going to have $9,000 property tax. And that's a lot. Yeah, I wish there could be something more, way to make that fair or evenly distributed. I mean, even if everyone is talking about the millage rate, but if everyone pays a little bit more, that would be fair, in my opinion, and not hitting the newcomers hard or even ruin some people's retirement plans. That's tough to hear. I mean, I think there was an old man yesterday here who made his case, and when I heard that, I thought even, well, okay, it's not too bad for us then, but to hear someone who bought a piece of land here for so many years ago and picked the wrong time to move, and that's tough. And I wish someone could come up with a way out of it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Craig Pierce. What I have to say, I wouldn't be able to do in 3 minutes, so I'm going to condense this down. My girlfriend and I, we had moved down here in middle of 2020. Since then, because of market values, our taxes have went up 2.5 times. Our car insurance has doubled. Our home insurance has doubled. Coming from a business background, I am required to submit a budget to my CFO, which required justification for that budget, which made me I would have to meet with my department heads on a minimum 4 times a year, doing quarterly performance goals, which included performance and financial, to be sure that we are getting the value that we are paying these employees for, and that when they submit their requests, that they are doing it efficiently and we are getting value for the dollar that we are spending to our vendors. We don't just buy the first thing that comes across our desk when there's a need. We do a little search to make sure that that is happening. Me being the liaison between my department heads and my CFO, I'm required to submit all that information to them in a timely fashion. And I think here, you as the liaison between the managers and your CFO, the people that give you the money to see this budget, I sure aren't, you're telling us that you leave it to the managers to give you the numbers that they, the budget up for the things that they need. I guess I'm trying to come up with, do you guys meet with your managers on a regular basis to get the gist of what they are asking for? Because I know my CFO isn't comfortable with giving me a blank check to give to my managers to say, here you go, here's the money, go and spend it. There's got to be an accountability for that money. And I just think that's the point that is trying to be made here tonight. I thank you for your time and listening to me, and you guys have a good evening.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Manuel Grau. I'm in the C section. And just to bring to light what's really going on here, I missed, I bought 3 years ago, and I finally retired and moved down here, hoping to enjoy all of the benefits that this area has to give. The maintenance, the beauty of it all. Also, the great prices and the low taxes. That has disappeared. I missed, apparently I missed the homesteading point by 2 weeks when I moved down here. And as a result, my taxes are going up $3,000 from 1 year to the next, okay? Now, that's approaching what I left the madness for in New York, okay? The tax and spend attitude that they had in the towns, Brookhaven, that I lived in on Long Island, were just uncontrollable. And I rather than stay there and pay taxes on a fixed income, which is what I've put myself into now that I've retired, I got out. But I've seemed to have landed in the same position. We've got tax issues here that are just, whether it's the assessment or the fact that the city doesn't, well, justifying the stuff that these departments want. You know, you got to look into that, and you know, it's like anything else. You've got to look back at what those guys are up to in those departments, and maybe, you know, tell them, you know, it's not Christmas. You know, we have to tighten the belt. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what's going on with this assessment, and you missed that homestead period, and you're screwed. And that seems this is I'm almost back to the same level of taxation I left in Long Island, and that's not a good thing. That is not a good thing. That is nothing to be proud of. I mean, that's a scary scenario. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Cameron Sadat-Jew. It looks like I'm the last one here, so I'll summarize for you. Don't raise our taxes by any at all, zero. Just as a background, I've had, in my 35 years of professional life, I've had many jobs. There was one job that I held. About a month into it, I knew I couldn't do it. That job was over my head. I went to my hiring manager and I said, look, you had faith in me, but I just can't do this. So I quit. I'm suggesting that if you can't keep last year's budget and do your job, there's no shame in maybe quitting. You know, just say you can't do it. Sorry about that. And we'll all respect you if that is your statement. But I think you should not raise any of the taxes. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name's Bruce Dragonjack. I'm down in the Z section. Been here 6 years now. Moved down from Pittsburgh, and just love it. We just love everything about the city. And I'll try to keep this short because I've got a zillion things to say, but most of it's already been said, and I think you guys are hearing what's been said. And I just want to go on the record as saying I stand with Mr. Danko and his ideas towards what should happen here tonight, and as well as everybody that's spoken here tonight, and as well as my friends and neighbors and, you know, family and everybody I talk to are just on the edge of outrage that this could even happen. And I understand you guys have a hard job, and I would never want to do it. You come in and have to learn a whole new way of doing business, you know, on a city level and, you know, within government, and that's hard. It's hard to figure out. Since I heard about this, I don't know, a month or so ago, I've been trying to figure out exactly what's happening. And I've gone to the city website and I've printed off page after page after page of city budget information and try to study it and try to make some kind of reasoning out of it, try to come up with some ideas. Maybe I can help somehow, but I can't. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a city official. I don't understand most of what's on here. And I know you guys have put in the time and brought yourselves up to speed on how all this works, and at this point, we can only trust that you know what you're doing. And I don't think anything that's been said here tonight is gonna change anybody's opinion. You guys already know how you're gonna vote. And, you know, I'm just glad that you know, the city charter allows us this opportunity to speak and at least let you know, where we stand on it. I think to change gears a little bit, Mayor, what you said about transparency, and you seem to understand that we, the people out here, can't understand this stuff. You know, I go to the proposed city budget for 2023, and there's like, I should have counted them, but there must be 30, 40, I don't know, maybe 50 different documents there, all detailing different aspects of what's happening. And we can't figure that out, but if you can come up with an idea, maybe your communications department or someone can come up with a system that can let us know what this is all about. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And the next speaker, please.
My name is Charles Hanger. I live at 36 Fountain Gate Lane. Mr. Mayor, distinguished guests, distinguished council members, I appreciate your dedication to doing the best job that you can. I have a couple of observations. I have lived here since 1979. I've got 43 years invested in this community. I came down to work for ITT, and I've done a number of budgets, a lot with ITT. Community Development Corporation, I did the Facilities Accounting Department, and so I understand what it takes to maintain a community. And quite frankly, it's not cheap, and it's not getting any cheaper. A couple of things. From an overall standpoint, you guys did not inherit a perfect city. Okay, you're working to make it better. I can appreciate that. However, when I took a look at the budget, I took a look at property taxes, and we spoke briefly about market value of houses. That's really not relevant when we're talking about millage rate. We're talking about assessed values on the houses, okay? The assessed values on the houses have increased by about 7%, round figures. And on top of that, we're putting in a proposed millage rate of almost 15%, okay? That to me sounds like double taxation. Okay, we're not only getting taxed on the increased value, which increases the revenue coming to the city, but we're also getting an increase on the proposed millage rate. I think we ought to take a step back and take a look at that. The other thing I noticed today, because I was here Tuesday also and listened to a lot of the stories, and there seems to be a disconnect because, quite frankly, some of the people are getting way overtaxed and others are not. Okay? It seems to be inequitable, and that's what I'm hearing a lot of. It's inequitable for the people that are paying thousands and thousands of dollars because they've just moved here. And I think that's something for your consideration. I don't know if you have any control over how the decisions to tax on property tax and who gets a homestead exemption, who does not. I don't think that's in your purview. The next thing is that I am disturbed by the amount of growth I've seen in this county. And quite frankly, growth doesn't pay for itself. You did not inherit a very good infrastructure, okay? And we have to fix that. But I think we have to take more of an idea toward what we have as to how many people we're bringing in. Growth does not pay for itself. And ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your service. That was an excellent presentation here. And I've done a number of those, and I was very impressed by it. We certainly hope that you do your best, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Paul Vargo from Colorado. Mr. Mr. Mayor, I was looking at the same budget last couple of days. I was here Tuesday night, right? Went online and it's the blue banner budget items that are on there, and it's all in that book right there. And I was thinking, first thought that came to my mind is, because I've worked on budgets quite a bit, there's a lot that we can do to cut here and give a break to maybe some of the homeowners. For example, one of the things that really jumped out at me, and I think it was the last thing I looked at, and I think I got the numbers right, and I couldn't believe what I saw, but $30,000 for sod in a dog park. That's a place that we can cut. The other thing that I heard, and I'm not going to rehash what a lot of other people have already said, but the first thing we wanted to do, we've been working on the canal system and the health of the canal for the last year and a half. I brought it up about a year and a half ago. Then council from 2 other districts can't find a place to cut, but all of a sudden it's going to be, let's cut the canal. Let's cut what we already did for the canal. Let's throw that whole year away that we've already done, okay? I would be greatly disappointed to see that happen at this time. Okay, we got 100,000, 200,000 in the canal system, and I don't know if the costs are broken up between districts. How much this district spent, how much that one did. But if my district has to cut out 200,000, I challenge the other 2 districts, the one brought up on Tuesday night, the other one tonight, to also cut $200,000 out of their district. Water sports are a very important part in this town. It was what it was built on, actually, from what I understand. I wasn't here that long ago. But I think there are places that we can be a little smarter. But we're going to have to do our homework, okay? We have to do our homework. We have to have our meetings. And as a final note, one thing I wanted to bring up was, it was brought up the other night, and I thought it was a very good idea, that each council member should meet with their constituents once a month. And then a lot of these questions can be answered through them. They can bring it back to here. I thought that was a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
Gary Kunis, C-section. Mr. Kloufus's comment the other night was totally inexcusable, and his after comment about the violin was also excusable. It's obvious that he doesn't want any parts of the dredging, nor the vice mayor wants any part of the dredging. They need to be done. A lot of the responsibility is on your hands by not having seawalls put on empty lots. And those empty lots are eroding into the canals tremendously. The one across from me had to put in 23 loads of sand to cover the amount of dirt that went into the canal, which now is 2 feet deep. Your information on that number was wrong. And I didn't have a chance to go out and take pictures today, but I will come back next Tuesday and prove that to you. You know, you authorized the last mayor $7 million to build a splash pond. You spent another $220,000 to find out what's wrong with it, and you spent another $90,000 recently for a new drafting of it. That, you know, you throw money around on stuff like that, and the rest of us have to pay for it. You raise our water bill to pay for dredging in the freshwater canal. You add a lot of pork to the water bill. Our water bill is twice everybody else's water bill. If it was an independent water company, I bet our prices for water would be half. You keep adding things to it for your own pleasure, and we get nothing out of it. And that needs to be changed. Not today, not yesterday. Okay? The first 2 items on the water bill was the rents for the meters. But over the years, the wording's slowly been changed. Now you're putting meters in, instead of having 2 meters, one for the home domestic and one for irrigation, you're putting in 1 meter that does both. But the rent stays the same and you keep increasing it. That needs to be fixed. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address City Council at this time? Seeing no one approach, I will close public comment and come back to City Council. And read the next. Again, I have to follow a very specific agenda here. So, step 3, the action is to adopt the tentative millage rate resolution. The City of Palm Coast proposes to adopt a millage rate of 4.6100 mils. We'll now bring this item back to City Council for further discussion or a motion. Discussion.
In the last couple of meetings, we've heard from a lot of citizens. Tuesday night, this place was packed. It overflowed into another room in the hallway. Tonight, we've got a pretty good crowd. We normally don't get crowds this size at every meeting. The one thing that is clear to me is everyone who has come, virtually everyone, maybe the exception of one person, virtually everyone is opposed to any tax increase this year. And, you know, we've heard lots of stories from different folks and the economic situations that they're in. Yeah, we have a lot of people on fixed incomes, and we have a lot of people collecting Social Security. But we also have people that are living off of 401ks, and as one person mentioned, she got a bite of 20% out of that 401k. I wish it was only 20%. I think it's actually like about 30, 35%, because stocks have really plummeted recently. The cost of housing here, our home values, as Councilman Burkino said, he was shocked his house went up twice in value. I'm shocked mine did too. But here's the problem, and I know Councilman Burkino knows this firsthand because his better half is a real estate agent, as my better half is a real estate agent. She just lost a contract today, under contract, past the due diligence point, where the people said, you know what? I think I'm overpaying because the market's starting to decline now here in Palm Coast. I think I'm going to lose my $5,000 in earnest money because I can go buy something a little cheaper and make it up on that end. Also, they just found out about what their taxes were going to be, and they were like, wait a second. I'm not going to pay $6,000, $7,000 on a house I should be paying $3,000 on. So that's going to start hurting us. And we increase these taxes, it's going to hurt our real estate market tremendously. And all of a sudden, we won't be the best place to retire to in Florida. We'll end up being the worst. And I know there's real estate agents out there that know exactly what I'm saying. You know, the housing market could bust, but yet you folks will be paying this increase in taxes on an amount today when 6 months from now your house may be worth, you know, half of what it's worth today. So I think that's a mistake. You know, just there's just so many things here. But the bottom line is all of us in this room, except for some people sitting up here, I think we can agree. We need to hold the line. We need to roll this millage rate back for 1 year. We need to live within our budget. I know our directors will find reasonable places to save money. I mean, obviously, you know, if I'm going to give you everything you want, then you have no incentive. But if I say, sorry, you're not going to get everything you want, these people are smart. They'll go back. They'll find where they need stuff. They'll find where they just wanted stuff, and they'll push it aside. Again, this is not the way to do it. This is just not the way to do it. And I want to fix it in the future, and I hope the mayor will work with me on doing that because we'll be the last two people here at some point. But I think for this year, a full, complete rollback. We need to have the courage to tighten our belt, just like you folks do at home, just like I do at home. That's all I have to say.
Councilman Finelli. Councilman Finelli.
Well, I was just going to say thank you for your civility and your decorum tonight, for the way that you've each come up and shared your thoughts with us. I think you've done so in a very respectful manner, and I want you to know that I really do appreciate it. I, like you, feel the same pain. I am a young family man. I have 3 kids, 9, 7, and 5. I'm feeling it too. Personally, we've had some unexpected medical expenses in the tens of thousands of dollars. So I get it. I get it. I totally understand that. We're dealing with something here in Palm Coast that is not unique to Palm Coast. It's not unique to Florida. It's a situation that we have been put in by bad financial policy. All that free money that everybody got and all those checks everybody cashed and that $15 minimum wage, we're paying for it. We're paying for it. Right now, every one of us, me included, when I vote for this, I'm not exempt from it. I'm going to be paying it too, right? And that's coming from my family and my kids. I'll tell you, I've been through this budget. I've been through this budget. If the directors are hiding money from us, they're doing a darn good job because I couldn't find it. And I asked the questions. I met with our city manager. I'm not a politician, never have been. I've been an educator my whole life. I only took this seat, or I only wanted this position to make good decisions for the citizens of Palm Coast. And I'm struggling to find money to roll back the millage rate. I want to roll it back, but I also want to know what that means when I do it and what we're losing when it happens, because you can't cut money without cutting services and cutting amenities to the people of the citizens of Palm Coast. So I'm not against rolling back the millage rate, but I want to know what that means, and I want to know what we're willing to do without. I'm not willing to do without our saltwater canal dredging. I'm not. It's been pushed back for too long, and too many people have waited way too long to see something done to rectify what's going on with our canals. We're losing them. We need to fix it. So I'm not willing to cut that. So I'm not against the millage rate, but I want to know what those cuts are going to be before I would vote on them.
Thank you, Councilman. Vice Mayor.
I just have one comment. I will not talk about this millage rate no more. I don't think I'm going to use any names, but someone came up here and gave us an idea how to get $3 million out of the empty lots. Well, I had an empty lot for about 8 years. I paid taxes on that lot dearly. Now, I'll remind you one thing. I paid about $600 before I sold it a year. The city cut the grass. That's all the city did. No cops were ever called by my lot. No kids were ever sent to school by my lot. And no sheriffs was ever called by my lot. So basically, the proposal from the gentleman was for us to increase taxes on that lot. Not a good idea, my opinion. We're talking about rolling back, not increasing taxes on anybody who owns a lot over here. And that was also said by another person that came here regarding us actually charging the developers for the empty lots. That you're talking about tax increases. And that's not what we actually expected from neither one of you.
Councilman Clofus. Yep. My remarks would be very similar in line with my colleagues. I would agree that we get to see every item in this budget, and it's hard to argue that fact when everything above a certain threshold, which used to be $30,000, I believe it's $50,000 now, comes before City Council. So on every other Tuesday, when we're here, we're approving these things, they come before us. So and I would completely agree with Councilman Finelli, there's not any fat in the budget to go through and just be able to chop off $1 million here, $1 million there. If you want to chop off $1 million, you're either eliminating emergency services, not maintaining roads that we now know for a fact are going to cost exponentially more money, to maintain in the future. And I just think we need direction if we're going to go that route. But I also think there's another obvious problem here, is that the homesteading, and it's not necessarily a problem, I should say, but the situation we find ourselves in is that homesteading creates an inequality between the amount that someone pays today, rewarding them for having been here for 20 years. If they are limited at a 3% increase, if they've been here since 1990, they are paying nowhere near what a new person moving here is. And I don't want to use the word problem, but it's certainly a situation. Because like we've heard, some people are moving here, they don't understand that property taxes are being reset once they purchase a home. Sure, it can go from several hundreds of dollars because they've been here forever to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. And that's an egregious, slap in the face when you don't realize that's about to happen. And I'm sure further up the chain, there's something not communicated to them that, that is where we are. But I think the inequality that homesteading creates this type of issues where we have existing residents who are here who may not be paying their fair share, and a lot of that burden, because of our high rate of growth, is being put on the individuals who are coming here today. And I think that we should also encourage everyone in this room to start becoming more involved with our strategic action process. We plan ahead on the initiatives that we want to see brought into the next budget. A lot of the things were removed from this year's strategic action plan, items that were implemented in the budget because, financial constraints.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, public comment is ended now.
And I think we've also had an educational part tonight that we understand recreation park impact fees can only be used for some things, and capital project money has to be used for others. And we pushed a lot of these projects off, and they're starting to come, the bill is due. And we're gonna get 2 new fire trucks. We wouldn't have anywhere to actually perform maintenance on them if we don't upgrade our public works facility. These are things where investments we're making today, we're responsible in ensuring that the dollar is well spent, and it's an unfortunate situation we find ourselves in, but to keep the level of service and the quality of life in Palm Coast at the level it is today, this is the constraints we find ourselves in.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Vice Mayor, would you accept the gavel for me, please? Let me summarize. In March of this year, our strategic action process began with each council member met with staff to outline their most important focus areas for the city over the next few years. Our city manager then worked with each department to scrutinize each budget to successfully accomplish those tasks. Many hours of staff time were spent researching solutions, collaborating with stakeholders, and tactically mapping out a path to success, all while maintaining the high levels of service our residents expect. That effort brought us the proposed budget today, before us today. It seems that my attempt last week for residents to visualize a broken city foundation using a 3-legged stool with Garfield distracted from the main purpose of my statement. So I will repeat without the imagery. A city with no foundation crumbles. Priorities like proper drainage, clean water, flowing traffic, level roads and sidewalks, communication with our public, and operationally safe vehicles have been our city's priority for months. Take away this foundation, and you take away our ability to manage a city that is revolutionizing over the next decade. If we now ask our city manager to cut the budget, the plans in motion over the last 9 months will fall apart. Strategic planning guides, the budget process. A strategic plan that is not linked to the budget is an unfunded dream. We must deal in reality. Election season is not the appropriate time to pervert our strategic action budget process, to pander for election votes. Disinformation and false arithmetic have complicated the public's understanding of the process and confused our residents about the actual tax bill. The truth of this budget is that we are holding fervently to the exact same rate as 2022. We have kept the same millage rate or lowered it for the past 4 years. The rise in your taxes is a reflection of your home's value growing enormously this past year. Most of you will hardly see an increase in your city taxes at all. Some who are not homesteaded may see more elevated rates. I therefore put forward a motion, my motion, to maintain the City of Palm Coast 2023 budget at the millage rate of 4.61 mils to fulfill the adequate needs and recommendations from City Council's Strategic Action Plan priorities. This is what we owe our city.
Do I have a second before we go into any comments? Do we have a second on the proposal for the?
Seconded.
Second. Any further comments regarding what the mayor's comments were?
Sure. This is exactly why election season is important. You can't keep electing people that are going to raise your taxes. I made a pledge I would never vote for a tax increase, and I won't vote for this tax increase. I'd rather drink antifreeze than vote for a tax increase. You need to elect some people that are on the same page. Thank you.
Councilman Finelli, do you have any? Please.
I don't have any.
If any further comments? Roll call, please, for that.
Mayor Alphen.
Yes.
Councilmember Danko.
Not only no, hell no.
Councilmember Finelli.
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus.
Affirmative.
Vice Mayor Branquinho.
Affirmative.
Motion passes 4-1.
Motion passes.
Thank you for the gavel back. We move to item number 4, which is City Councilor, if you would read it into the record for us, just give us a minute.
Shame on you, lie.
Seriously? Really? You represent me? I don't think so.
Oh, it's in color.
Councilor, if you would read resolution number 4 into the record for us, please.
Yes, this is a resolution concerning the tentative budget for fiscal year 2022-2023 and amending budget for fiscal year 2021-2022. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast of Flagler County, Florida, adopting the tentative budget for fiscal year 2022-2023, amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget, and providing for an effective date.
The following steps must be completed only after adopting the tentative millage rate. So adopt the tentative millage rate. Step 1, action. This item is to introduce the tentative budget. The City of Palm Coast proposes to adopt a budget with total appropriated expenditures and reserves of $328,187,633. At this time, I will call for City Council discussion on this item. Are there any members of City Council that would comment on this item?
I have no further discussion regarding this matter.
I'd just like to thank the city for all their hard work in putting the budget together and over the months of just keeping us up to date throughout the process.
I'd also just like to compliment staff on how tremendous they've been, but also the value engineering that's been performed by our entire staff. I mean, if you look at the cost of life and cost of goods and everything, it far exceeds what we've been able to do with our budget. So thank you to not only finance, which does an awesome job, but also all of the department heads who have been leading their staff to ensure that they're cutting costs wherever they can.
Thank you, council members.
I'll make one comment. Next year, I'd like to see us do workshops, 3 days, 8 hours a day, and go through these budgets with each department head line by line, so we have a clear explanation of what every single cost is. Because it's impossible for us to do it by just going through this. It's impossible. None of us can do it. You know, I get it. But I think next year we can do a better job. We voted ourselves a pay increase, and I think because of that pay increase, that's something we can do to earn that pay increase. So I'd like to really see us change this process next year.
So you certainly have my commitment to work on that process together in the sunshine through the city manager.
Yes.
Very good. Step 2, again, following the legal process, action. Hear public comment on the tentative budget. We will now open up to hear public comments regarding the tentative budget. The general public must be allowed to speak and to ask questions prior to the adoption of any measure by the governing body. So I invite, please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and each speaker will have 3 minutes. I invite any members of the public to address the City Council at this time. Seeing no one step forward, I will close public comment.
Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
I just
Please,
wanted-
just, I know, introduce yourself again, just for our record. Thank you.
Charles Hanger, 36 Fountain Gate Lane. I just want to reiterate my sincere concern about the population growth and the rate of growth. We're looking at expending a lot of money. I think we need to take care of what we have before bringing people in who will be further weighing on our infrastructure. And we're talking about swale maintenance, we're talking about roads, we're talking about bridges. Like I mentioned before, I've been here for 43 years, and I've seen what making poor decisions has the result of doing. I'll give you one significant incident. Before we put in the bridge over 95 on Palm Coast Parkway, I was able to get my nose into the door of the engineering department. They were setting it all up, and they had one lane going east, one lane going west. And I said, are you kidding me? We have 40,000 acres, 44,000 home sites planned. You're going to build this bridge, and in 2 years, you'll be sitting back doing the same thing to widen it. Please, at this time, take a look at your budget, take a look at your expenditures, plan for the future, rather than bring the future in when we're not ready for it. I'm telling you, I mean, we all know what the traffic problem is. We all know what the road problem is. Now, we have an infrastructure where the roads need a lot of attention. And these are things that are not going to go away. People will come and go. People will live and die. People will move. These roads, this infrastructure will be here until after we're well gone. It hasn't been done in the past. That's not your fault. You've inherited it, and I challenge you to take a closer look at the budget. And the other thing I will say is that I believe our sheriff's department and our fire department is underfunded. I took a look at the budget. I know what we need. If we're bringing more people in, we don't give them enough money to take care of that, shame on us, okay? And, if somebody's got to pay for it, somebody's got to pay for it. And quite frankly, your job is the millage rate. Your job is not the property taxes. That comes from the county. So I wish I would have been able to say that a little bit better earlier. But for the record, I thank you for all your hard work, and I thank you for the professionalism in presenting the budget here. I thought it was very well done.
Thank you for your comment. Any other members of the public like to make comment at this time?
Charles, thank you for your service.
Seeing no one approach, I will close public comment at this time, and we will now bring this item back to the City Council for further discussion or a motion.
If there's no further discussions, I'll move to approve the.
Or we do have to announce step 3 in totality.
We're right here.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I thought I already did that. I'm sorry, the number appears twice. Yeah, my. Step number 3, action. Adopt the tentative budget resolution. The City of Palm Coast proposes to adopt a tentative budget of $328,633. We will now bring this item back to City Council for further discussion or a motion. Does that satisfy the clerk's requirement?
Yes.
Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve this tentative budget.
I have a motion to approve.
Seconded.
I have a second. Any additional, no, I'm sorry. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Branquinho?
Yes.
Councilmember Danko?
No.
Councilmember Finelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus?
Yes.
Mayor Alfin?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Step 4, action. After resolution, if adopted, announce public hearing. This item was adopted by City Council. The public hearing to adopt the final millage rate and budget is scheduled for September the 21st, 2022 at 5:15 p.m. at the Palm Coast City Hall Community Wing. I move to item number G on the agenda. Are there any final public comments? Seeing none, I will close public participation, and I will add one final comment, if that's okay. Comments are hard to hear and heartfelt by every single member that sits up here on the dais. There's no question about that. A thought I have, which I will bring forward for discussion at the earliest possible future opportunity, is to look directly at the fixed income resident. And with our discussion, perhaps propose an initiative to the state that we consider an exemption for those residents that might be in a fixed income situation where their net wealth does not permit them to maintain the expenses of their home. I think it's a good chance for us to discuss, and it certainly would go a long way to providing some assistance to those folks that are caught in the switches. So again, at the earliest opportunity, I will propose that for a discussion at a later time.
I think that's a great idea. I would like to add to it possibly, again, those folks moving here to retire, they get hit really hard, and there has to be some way to balance this out. I mean, you got one person with a $600,000 house who pays, I don't know what, $300 a year in taxes maybe, or less depending on when they bought their house. You got a new person who moves across the street and they're paying $7,000. There's something wrong with their system. This is broken, and it doesn't work like this in most places. You know, most places you go in, you buy a home, and this is my 10th house in life. So I've lived around the country in a lot of homes, and you go in, you buy a home, you realize, okay, the taxes are $2,500, so yeah, I'm just going to get hit with whatever the increase is next year. I'm not going to get slammed. And again, I mean, we heard folks saying they were stunned when they got their tax bill. Again, my better half lost a client over this today, and I know that's the state. It's not us. But maybe now, since we have a new Speaker of the House who lives here, we've got a senator, maybe we can get some changes made, because I realize the intentions were good to reward people that stay here, but, you know, it's not working out that way. So maybe we can make a difference, and maybe for the future, you know, because we get stuck with this. You know, it gets dumped on us, and it's not fun. So let's just see. I hope we can work. I think that's a great idea.
Very good. Any final comments? So let me just say that I applaud everyone sitting in this room tonight for the effort, the engagement, the conversation, and I appreciate every single one of us remaining in the room tonight. Thank you all, and with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor, please signify. All right.